Thank you for being a part of our study today in 2 Corinthians. We're in chapter 11. One of the jobs of a shepherd is to take care of the sheep in terms of protecting them from the wolves. One of Paul's jobs as a shepherd of the church in Corinth was to protect them from wolves that had come in. He called those wolves at one time super apostles, another time false apostles. Chapters 10, 11, and 12 are devoted to talking about them. Now, one of the things that he had to do was he had to bring over some of the crowd in Corinth who had joined with those false apostles. So a lot of 2 Corinthians is sort of building the foundation for these three chapters, 10, 11, and part of 12. Now, Paul's desire was to be like the bridegroom of a wedding, or a best man of a wedding, and to say this: I promised you in marriage to one husband, to present you as a chaste virgin to Christ. That's verse 2. In Ephesians, it's put like this: Christ loved the church and gave himself for her in order to make her holy by cleansing her with the water of washing by the word, so as to present the church to himself in splendor, without a spot or wrinkle or any other kind, yes, so that she may be holy and without blemish. Ephesians chapter 5, verses 25 through 27. Now that's Paul's desire, and that's Jesus' desire for the church. On the other hand, Satan had a plan. His plan was to lead the church astray from a sincere and pure devotion to Christ. That's verse 3. Now, Satan uses deception, and very often he uses deceptive people to accomplish his purposes. That was true in Corinth. So in chapter 11, verse 4, we learned that these deceptive people are changing the message of Jesus, the person of Jesus. Okay, so they're changing what Jesus is like in the minds of people. And then they also attack Paul's character and Paul's abilities. Now, it's easy to be deceived by very clever speakers. And one of the things we need to do is know how to protect ourselves. The best way to protect yourself is to know the gospel. If you know what are the attitudes and actions of Jesus in the gospel, and if somebody presents you a message that's not consistent with that, well, that's a red flag, and you need to say, I'm not going to mess with that. And then one of the really old but very dishonest debate tricks is if you don't have facts on your side, then you begin to throw rocks and criticize and tear down the character of your opponent. So when that's being done, those, again, they need to be red flags. We need to say, this person is wrong. Now, Paul defended his own ministry in verses 7 through 11, and then he turned to really expose the wolves who had come in among the church. Verse 13, for such boasters are false apostles, deceitful workers, disguising themselves as apostles of Christ. That's a strong word. And so Paul knew that they were dishonest because they were doing what? They were pulling people away from their devotion to Christ. That's always a telling note. He put them in the same category as Satan. He said, no wonder, even Satan disguises himself like an angel of light. So it's not strange if his ministers also disguise themselves as ministers of righteousness. Their end will match their deeds. Well, these are very serious charges. How do we, when we have to deal with what we think might be false, how do we deal with it? Here's some questions. What do they teach about Jesus? Is their teaching consistent with what we read about the attitudes and the actions of Jesus in the Gospels? That's very important. Number 2, does their message want you to live closer to Christ, or does their message pull you away to their cause or to their person? If it's to Christ, hallelujah. If it's to their cause and their person, you got to watch out. And then, do they use the technique of attacking someone's character or abilities as a tool of persuasion? If so, that's obviously dishonest. Years ago, I was working out in a gym in Blue Springs, and he was the world's strongest 220-pound power lifter at that time, and I think still is. He was extremely strong, and I'm glad he was a very nice guy too. He was a trainer, and as a trainer, he gave away T-shirts to the people he trained that said, "Shut up and show me." Now, I never got trained by him, and I never had one of his t-shirts. But if you read verses 21 through 33, and I don't have time to read it now, but if you read those verses, Paul is saying, "Shut up and show me." He's doing it nicer than I put it. But the point is, he didn't just talk about serving God, he served God. He didn't talk about being devoted to Christ. He was devoted to Christ. That's a great point. Now, I hope you're never confronted by a deceptive teacher in your Christian journey. But if you are, look at their life. What have they done? Are they devoted to Christ? Do they lead you to devotion to Christ? Do they match up their words with what you read of Jesus in the Gospels? Do they use their words to attack other people? Those are important things for you to know. But above all, let's go back to what he said in the book of Ephesians. Let's have a life with Jesus where we're devoted to him. No spots, no wrinkles, nothing like that. Holy and without a blemish. So thanks a bunch for being a part today. God bless you. You have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.